Hello, friend, and welcome. My name is Megan, if we haven't met, and I am a conversion-focused website designer, and I predominantly design on the Showit website platform. And today I want to talk about a huge feature of Showit and why some people might think that it's actually kind of annoying. I want to share with you why this specific feature is really one of the most magical things about Showit. And I am talking all about the fact that you design your mobile website. This is the back end of my Showit website. The way that Showit is built to where you truly design the mobile website almost as if it is a completely different website as your home or your desktop version. If you start adding elements, if you are in the back end of Showit, you know that just because you add something on the desktop side, it is not like other web builders like typical WordPress themes or Showit or I don't have much experience in Squarespace, but I assume it's similar to where things automatically happen on the mobile side and they become sized and arranged in a certain way. Showit does not work that way. You actually have to build the desktop side of your website, and then you also have to build the mobile side of your website separately. Now, some people, especially in the Showit Facebook group, are like, oh, can you please help me? Like, this is so hard to do both at the same time. But I want to share with you why this is actually a very, very helpful and useful feature that Showit has built into the platform. So to begin, I want to show you this article. I'll link it in my blog post, but this is from Tech Jury. They have pulled some stats very specific to 2020. Right now it's July of 2020. And so I wanted to get some very to the point stats or up to date stats on what's going on with mobile versus desktop usage, specifically because of the way that people are changing their habits with the shutdowns from COVID. A lot more people are on their phone and using social media and using the internet in just different ways right now. So I really wanted to see, okay, what's going on in terms of mobile versus desktop usage. This is a roundup of some of the highlight stats that are interesting to read. Over the course of 1 year, mobile users' share increased by over 10%. That's a huge jump in use of mobile internet use, right? The mobile versus desktop usage stats in 2020 reveal 50% of B2B inquiries are made on mobile. Super interesting fact if you are B2B business. Social media takes 25% of all digital media consumption and is mainly accessed on mobile. That is another really, really important stat to look at. 25% of all digital media consumption is happening on social media, which is a prime space for you to be marketing your business, right? We all know, we all want to be on Instagram, we all want to be on Facebook and Pinterest and these different platforms. And so you're right, your efforts there are worthwhile, but we have to make sure that our mobile sites are able to support that type of digital media usage, right? Okay, 51% of the time spent online in the US is on mobile devices. That is a huge number to look at. Over half at this point. It used to be that desktop was a little bit higher, but now it looks like the scales might be tipping, and mobile is going to be is taking over in terms of the amount of time spent online. Super important to know. Basically, all of these stats that we're reading right here show us that as time goes on and as technology evolves, mobile is just becoming more and more important. And I don't think I need to spend much more time here. You know that mobile is important as a business owner and somebody who is selling on a website, right? You know mobile is important. What I want to do right now is jump over to my Google Analytics. This is my Google Analytics in the last 30 days. And I want to look at what's going on in my website. Now, my numbers don't necessarily perfectly reflect the overall statistics that we just read. It is very typical for my website usage to have a much higher desktop percentage than mobile. I think specifically for me, because I sell Showit website templates, my customers and people that are visiting my website that are interested in the products that I sell they are most likely wanting to come via desktop so they can see what those website templates look like, not only on a mobile device, but also on a desktop. It's much easier to really look at all the different pages and kind of features that my products have on a desktop over a mobile. So I feel like that makes a lot of sense for me that my customers come predominantly from a desktop, but this doesn't mean that that is the same for you. If you have Google Analytics loaded on your site, this is just typing analytics.google.com, and this is the dashboard, your home. This is exactly what pulls up on a website or on your Google Analytics dashboard. So you can just scroll down to about midway, or not midway, about 75% of the way down on your home dashboard, and you're going to see sessions by device. This can help you determine where your users are coming from and give you a better understanding of how people are using your website. But just because more people use my website on a desktop doesn't mean that the mobile is not important. We just read and know from the most up-to-date statistics that 51% of people are consuming digital media on their mobile. What was the statistic about time? Maybe that's it. It's 51% of time spent online is on the mobile, right? So even though my mobile does not reflect that, it doesn't mean that mobile is not important. I have found personally that people may find me via mobile. Maybe they're on Pinterest on their phone and they find a blog post they like, or maybe they find me via Instagram and they click over to my site and they're like, oh, I see these Showit website templates. Let me go explore some more on my desktop. That's a natural progression for me and my customers. So thinking through, I know that the scales are tipping and mobile is becoming more and more important. It is so important that your site is mobile optimized. And in this day and age, I would say it's not enough for it just to have a mobile version. In the past, it was all about just making sure your website had a mobile version. I would argue that it actually needs to be approached in a different way than a desktop. It's not enough for you to just build a desktop site and your website platform just automatically turn it into a mobile version. That doesn't mean that the mobile version is going to be enjoyable and easy to digest. And that is why the Showit split of designing your desktop all together and then designing your mobile, however you dream up, is magical, because it allows you to tap into the way that people actually use their phone. It's not enough to just build my desktop site and let my website platform arrange the elements that I put on the desktop in a way that categorically stack it up and hope that it works. With Showit, you have the ability to get very specific on how your mobile site is designed to ensure that it is set up to convert and not just show the information that you plopped on your desktop, right? So I can think through, as somebody who knows how I use my mobile site, or I use my mobile to navigate the internet, I can design my desktop in a certain way that I know will be a really enjoyable and easy experience to navigate on a desktop, and then, almost reapproach the website that I am building on a mobile to think through, okay, how would I actually want to see this on a mobile? What is not just having all the elements there, but how is it going to be easier for somebody to scroll and read? What are the most important elements and what order do they need to be in? Maybe it's a different order than it's over on your website. So for example, let me show you example of what I'm talking about. This is my testimonial section, my canvas on my desktop. I've got this is a site canvas, so that's why you're seeing these lines. But so I've got this mobile phone that's kind of like cutely diagonal. And it's got an image of one of my customers using my template on mobile. And then you can see the testimonial on the other side. On a traditional website template or platform, like some of these other design builders, what happens is you work in what's called these blocks. So most other builders work in blocks. So you've got these columns and rows on a website. And when you put something in this, and on the left side in block 1, let's call it block 1, and then we're going to say this is 2 columns right here, right? So phone is column 1, words are column 2. Okay. So on a traditional website builder, what's going to happen is this phone image is going to be stacked on top on the mobile, and then the words are naturally going to be stacked on bottom. You don't have as much flexibility in terms of placement of where these elements go. So let me scroll down to my mobile. Now on Showit, everything that you see in Showit is drag and droppable. So literally I could pull any of these elements and move them around the screen freely. And that's completely different than every other website builder there is out there. Most of them. Right? So I can literally take any element and put it wherever I want. Whereas other builders that work in blocks, you are confined to those blocks and whatever spacing those blocks are built into the section that you're working on. And unless you know how to code, unless you know custom CSS, or you want to get into all of that, you're going to have to deal with how it aligns itself on mobile out of the box. So that's partly why I love the way that Showit allows me to have complete free design freedom on the mobile side. You'll see that where normal web builders would have put this phone on top and then my words would have been on the bottom, on the mobile, what's more important is that you see the testimonial, not so much that you see this large phone image. It makes a lot more sense on desktop for you to see the phone large and peeking from the bottom, where on mobile, it would have taken a lot of vertical space had I tried to do this concept of having the phone on the bottom and or the phone on the top. So I was able to kind of rethink the way the design works on the desktop side to have the mobile peeking out, because it is an interesting element. It shows that this is a real customer who has used one of my templates. But what really gets the attention on the mobile side is the actual testimonial itself, which is the most important part, right? It's important to hear and see that other people can vouch for me and my products. So I was able to rethink the design and make the mobile much smaller and less of a hugely prominent element than it is on the desktop side, and choose exactly where it goes. I wasn't confined to the layout of boxes that other platforms use to determine where my elements were going to go. I had complete design freedom in this section. So that's one example of how this works. Let me show you another example. Let me go to my join page. Okay, so we all know that anything that is above the fold, that means before you have to scroll, whether you're on a desktop or a mobile. So on the desktop version, let's preview this. This is an opt-in page. So anything that is above the fold, meaning you don't have to scroll to see that information, is prime real estate. You want the most important elements of any page to be above the fold, specifically an opt-in, a lead magnet page, whatever you want to call it. The form is super important to be above the fold, or the call to action button that pops up the form. It's really, really important that that information is above the fold. You've got to get the point across quickly, concisely, and clearly to get somebody to actually want to opt in and be excited to opt in. The more you make somebody scroll to get important information, the less conversion optimized that page is. So on a lead magnet page, it's super important that they get the point above the fold. And if you can give them that form or a call to action button to bring up the form above the fold, you're going to see higher and better conversions on those opt-ins. Now, again, remember, other website platforms work in these boxes. And so whatever is on the left is going to, and they work in a system. So whatever is over here is going to end up first in a, say if you're using Shopify, whatever you put over here, it's going to automatically arrange itself like this on the mobile. So then this title would be first, and then this image would be right under that title, and then this content would be under this image of this mockup, and then the form would be stacked all the way below those elements on a mobile site naturally. But remember, what's above the fold is most important, whether you're on a desktop or a mobile site. So here is another example of why Showit and their split mobile versus desktop design feature wins the day, because I can, without having to code, without having to have any experience with CSS, HTML, any of that jazz, I can make sure that the prime elements that need to be above the fold are above the fold, meaning that when you're on a mobile, you don't have to scroll down at all to see that this is a form and that this is something that you're going to get. So you see that we got rearranged, or that I rearranged the order of events to have download the free guide and then this title of the actual opt-in itself, and this tagline that quickly conveys what you're going to get if you decide to opt in and how it's going to benefit you. And instead of this mock-up image being above the fold, because it takes up quite a bit of vertical real estate space, I put the form above the fold easily, and really all I had to do was drag and drop. Look, it's super, super easy to move things around and show it and drag and drop. Do you see now, if I were to have this image above the fold before you scroll, now my form is way down here. What the most important action for somebody to do on this opt-in page is not actually above the fold anymore. So as somebody who understands that whatever is above the fold is prime real estate, I am super, super easy. I'm able to just rearrange elements however I want on the mobile side to make that happen, to make it mobile optimized and get the point across quickly and easily that this is something they're going to get if they put their email in this box and it's going to send it to them. So that's just another example of how this is a really powerful feature of Showit, that you can design the mobile with complete freedom to drag and drop and place your elements where it needs to be. I want you to reframe your mind. If you're a Showit user and you're like, the mobile site drives me crazy, I want you to reframe your mindset and think this is a powerful, and I call it the magical mobile experience, because you have the ability to make sure that your mobile site converts at the rate that your desktop site converts, and you can create a whole different experience. You can hide elements that aren't necessary on the mobile side so easily that maybe distract. You can have completely different text boxes. So imagine being on your mobile and reading, say if you're on a sales page, right? Sales pages can get super long. If you have a long form sales page, they can get upwards of 8,000 to 10,000 words, which is really, really long. And that's super hard to read on this tiny little device. So you can get strategic and actually create different text boxes and you can kind of even edit down your copy for your mobile site if it's necessary and it would help people get through the most important information on whatever page you're working on, you can strategically think through that. How can I make my mobile site scannable, easier to read? How can I break out paragraph copy that might be fine on a desktop? How can I break that out into different text boxes with headers and subheaders and paragraph font on the mobile to make that more easy to digest? You have the freedom to really make sure that your mobile site continues to engage your user in a different way than it would happen on a desktop, and make sure that you do get those conversions with the 51% of people who are using mobile now over desktop, right? So it's really, really interesting if you start to think through how I can get creative with my mobile site to ensure, that the layout makes the most sense to increase conversion, and also how can I use the power of Showit with their different text boxes and drag and drop system to make sure that my mobile site is perfectly optimized to continue to engage the scrolling action that people use on mobile, right? They're not sitting here looking at a desktop and having lots of space to be able to visually explore what's going on. They're just quickly going like this with their thumb and wanting to get information fast, right? So you can design your website in that way. And finally, what I also love about Showit is you can think through how you would design differently on a desktop versus a mobile, in the sense of, okay, let me actually show you a different page than my blog. Okay, so this is my Instagram link page. If you're on my desktop, it looks like this. It has like a hero image with my logo. I think, let me actually see the preview before I tell you what it has. Okay, so you can see it has this hero image, it has my logo, it has this cute little like welcome text, and you scroll down and it's got this grid and it shows you 3 different places that you might want to go explore if you land on my Instagram link page. And then it has that similar concept with the phone, and this is a call to action to take my quiz. So if I were on a mobile site and I had, typically on other builders, if you were to design this grid this way, where the image is on top and then the title is below it and then the button is below the content, typically on a mobile site, it would just take those vertical call to action sections in these 3 columns and stack them, right? So it would be this one long vertical rectangle over this, and then this one would be underneath it, and it would have the same design concept of image on top, title below, paragraph below, button below. But on a mobile, we know like scroll fatigue is a real thing, right? So instead of having these big, long vertical call to action sections, I was easily able to switch the design to be horizontal call to action sections, which is more mobile friendly. They don't have to scroll as much to get the full scope of what this specific call to action section is. They can quickly see that the title is here. They can quickly see the paragraph copy in the button. Boom, that section is taken care of. They can digest it. They can determine if they want to click. If not, let me see the next one. As opposed to having that vertical style on the mobile, that starts to create some scroll fatigue because the image wouldn't necessarily be in the same, like I'd have to scroll through to get to the button below, like if it were over here, if that makes sense. So you can think through, if something is designed one way on a desktop, how could you edit it? How could you make a subtle shift to that design like this instead of a vertical call to action section, which makes sense because it takes up more space on the desktop and gives you the time and attention you need to focus. On a mobile, what can I do to rearrange the elements or rearrange the design in a way that's not going to bring about scroll fatigue? And this was an example of that in action. So I know that it is more work. It's essentially double the work to create a desktop site and then have to create that entire desktop site on the mobile with the way that Showit works, but it is worth it. It is one of Showit's best features, in my opinion, because you have the power as the Showit user to now create an entirely different mobile experience than your desktop site to ensure that all the people that are coming from that 25% of social media, or the 25% of digital media happening on social media, all those people, they're going to be able to be engaged and they're going to be able to easily navigate and click around and explore your website in a way that makes so much more sense than they would want to explore that on desktops. You can really make sure, no matter where they are, whether they're on a desktop or they're on a mobile device, that it is an enjoyable experience, it's an engaging experience, and it is set up to convert. And that's what I'm all about. I'm all about making sure your website is set up to convert. We are not just about having pretty faces. Although a pretty website is really, really great, it doesn't matter if it's not converting to sales as a business owner. So this is one way that Showit really helps you to capitalize on the mobile on the way that people are using the internet these days more and more with mobile. Use this to your advantage and start creating your mobile website. Edit, make tweaks, or create your mobile website from scratch, thinking through how are people actually using the phone or using the internet on their phone, and how can I use the power that Showit has to create this completely different mobile experience to make sure I am connecting with those people really well. So I hope this was helpful. This is truly one of my favorite features of Showit. It is worth it. Use it to your advantage, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much, y'all.